Saltwells Nature Reserve in Dudley has been designated the second Geological National Nature Reserve quite recently, and it joins Dudley's first ever Geological National Nature Reserve, Wrens Nest. So it's really opportune, and we're really pleased to welcome Alan Preece, the Warden of Saltwells, and Ian Beech, the Warden of Wrens Nest, who will give us a view from the Wardens about these two important geological sites, both now recognised as national gems. Now, from what I understand, Ian, you're starting first. And would you share your screen, please, Ian? Thank you.
Okay, I believe that should be shown in the first slide.
Excellent.
Great, that's a good start at least. Thank you. Right, good evening all. I understand there's a lot of you here tonight, and hopefully we don't have too many technical failures, and we have a good evening really. Right, off we go. I shall begin. Okay, just an introduction. Wrens Nest NNR, the jewel in Dudley's crown, with 180 plus Silurian marine invertebrate fossils, of which 63 or more have only been recorded on this site. Tonight, I'll be looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly. As you may already know, the site is 100 acres of disused or finished mining limestone quarry, uplifted out of the ground, creating Wrens Nest Hill. The leftover mining trenches dictate routes around the site and make management of the site tricky, to say the least. Designated by the National Conservancy Council, who we know now as Natural England, in 1956 originally, Wrens Nest in Dudley was the first NNR for geology in the UK. Here we have one of the earlier signs of the union and commitment between Natural England, or NCC, and Dudley Metropolitan Borough Council. The other picture on the other side is commonly known as a fossil pizza. Seen all over the site, can be found in many different places, with amazing shells, crinoids and corals held together with a limestone matrix. This picture here is by Tony Wharton, no family member, I believe, to Graham, spelt slightly different. Okay, the geology and fossil preservation on site lends itself very well for education for all abilities. Part of our role, we offer educational visits to schools and groups. Last year we took over 1,500 children from local schools around the site. I have to add, that's not all together, that's separate classes. We looked at the geology, industrial history, seasonal changes and conservation. This is all as a part of key stages 2 and 3. The Dudley bug. The question we hear most is, will we find a trilobite? First question most people get to site, will we find one? The picture on the other side, on the right-hand side of the screen, is obviously the Seven Sisters. Part of the management we have to do there is keep the rock faces clear, keep it visible to see all these different lines of strata, and to look at how this pillar and stall type of mining was produced. The site, as the geological guide for the site makes a good guide for all the key spots and keeps us focused on scrub management, views of the geology, and keeps us on top of what we need to do on site. The Black Country Geological Society normally attend 2 visits a year to assist us with the scrub bashing, and normally a change of meeting of minds with from the management side and the geological side. It's normally 2 pleasant days at the start of the winter and at the end of the winter. Okay, so I'm going to run through some past and present pictures now with a little bit of an insight into different ones as we go. Trees on site have been targets for many years for vandalism. Over the past 6 years, we've planted over 15,000 trees on site. Many with local schools, volunteers and groups. We try to do this tree planting with the local schools to educate the importance of them in our environment and to replace some that we have removed from prime geological locations. So we're trying to improve the geology for vision and for site visits, but also trying to plant all the green stuff up in the correct areas. Okay, National Lottery were involved in the site up until recently, and they helped the site by giving an influx of funding and a member of staff to the site to improve interpretation, educational use and visitor-friendly community work. It was a massive success, and if you do visit the site, you'll see some of this interpretation and artwork around the site. Okay. The Friends of Wrens Nest, not fiends, I have to add. Fabulous group, massive support for us on site. I'm just going to run through some of the things that they do for on site with us. Guided walks, fundraising events, site awareness, guided walks, a yearly quiz, which, you know, in these times it's a bit of hit and miss this year, but hopefully we'll succeed to have the quiz night next year. And to be fair, a well-deserved rest spot on the Dudley Trail. Some may say the best refreshment spot. Monthly Typics on the 2nd Tuesday of every month. I have a group of the friends groups bringing other friends along to help and assist with litter picking on the site. This all goes towards the Green Flag Awards, which we couldn't do without them. And normally within a 2-hour litter pick, we normally in excess of 1 ton of rubbish. That's not because the warden service are a bit lazy during the week and we can't be bothered to pick the litter up. It's just the sheer amount that we do have on site. And on the picture here, you can see from this November's litter pick, which was a mediocre one this month. Really grateful for their support and everything they do within the site. It's really appreciated. Okay. Wrens Nest would not be Wrens Nest without a few key people. I'm going to mention a few tonight. If I've missed you, I do apologise. It's nothing personal, but there's just some that came into mind while I was working through what we're doing. Abraham Darby, aka Graham, here dressed up smart, as you can see. Valuable, so valuable to us in the site, with assistance with geological matters, university groups, university students wanting to do projects on site, which then go back into PhDs and other sort of projects that are valuable to us to read, to educate ourselves, which we can then pass on to visitors. This year with COVID, we've been really short of our normal volunteers, our day-to-days, and a few that we get in hops and skips, really. One of them on the right is Trevor. Really important part of the team. He's normally with us 4 days a week. Trevor's been with us volunteering for over 30 years. He was 6'1" when he started, but he's about 5'4" now. We've just worn him down really. But we're very pleased to have Trev with us, but unfortunately at the minute he's not been with us since March. The Natural England team: Jonathan Larwood, Colin Prosser, Katie Lloyd, so valuable to us with information about how other nature reserves are working and how we should be working together. And it's just been this great relationship between Dudley Council and then Natural England, and it's long may it carry on. Really, we all sort of enjoy seeing each other in meetings and pushing ideas forward on the sites. All the local people that come and use the sites really appreciated their kind comments of the management. We keep up under tricky conditions, and my staff as well. For Rob and Dave, who have been on site for over 30 years, I'd be lost without them as well. So we have a great team at Wrens, and we all pull together when we're needed and keep on top of an important NNR. The ugly, as I said earlier, vandalism. What can I say? It happens. Site staff try to keep on top of everything as quickly as we can. By leaving vandalism around, it just produces more problems. So as soon as we've got any issues on site, we try to get it all cleaned up and tidied and respectable for the visitors. Obviously, some of this is probably from some of the local younger people, perhaps on site, causing vandalism. But on a whole, most of the community that are around the site that we see day to day really appreciate this valuable green space. And it's really, for them, it's a bit of a gem and an extension to their back garden. There's just a few that cause the issues. Okay, this is a bird's eye view of Wrens Nest. If none of you have ever been from Britain from above, it's really worth looking at for geological sites from above or different places all around the West Midlands. Magnificent pictures, and they also give us a different perspective on the world that we normally see being up high and looking down. I'm just going to see if I can move my mouse around. Okay, so our Warden's base is somewhere around here at the minute, or inside the college grounds. And this section here was used, this little field at the side is called Target Field, and this was used for the Royal Hussars for target practice and setting up their rifles. So it's different history, different land use. Where's my cursor gone? This building here, Martin's Farm, was used up to the 1960s. Unfortunately, stopped being used, and the building was demolished at some point in the 60s. Still, the remains are still here, and it's just a really good insight into the site and how where the deep linear mines went round the site. Okay, another person to mention while we're here, the gentleman in the picture is Tim Colshaw, who's an NNR manager for Natural England up till recently when he retired, and he's had this view named after himself. What's happened here is, in the 90s, Tim and some others from Natural England and the site staff decided it'd be good to look at management through time. So they set up a fixed photography of the site in certain locations, and these photos will be taken every 5 years to look how the site has changed. And you can see from 1990 how open the site was, although you have got a lot of scrub in front of the ripple beds and along that area. As you can see from the 2015 photos, it's clear, but the green stuff, as I'll use the terminology for the trees and everything else, is in different places. It just gives an insight of management. We can record it in writing and management, looking back through management plans, but a visual has a bigger impact, I think, of how things have changed. Okay, I'm just going to carry on to the next one of these, just another comparison really. The Seven Sisters, the Northern Gallery. This fence in the one on the right, you can see the comparison, and you can see which one the visitors, when they turn up on site, would perhaps enjoy to visit, rather than rather than the earlier pictures. Yeah, as you can see on the right, before the lottery was involved, before this new fencing put in, it really hid the view of all that geological strata, and by doing that, it also made it very ugly. So, albeit we have to have a fence there, at least where it's been placed now, it's lower down. You can see over it, and you can see the strata and the different rock outcrops on there, giving much more pleasing, much more of a pleasing visit for visitors. Okay, nice frosty view there in Marsh's Quarry, looking over the reef mounds. You can see in the picture, obviously these areas, all areas of scrub, constantly working against us all the time. And I think this section just down the right here, we did a couple of years ago, the Geological Society. We had a good day clearing out this scrub area. Mother Nature for us is relentless, constantly battling against it all the time to keep these geological outcrops open. Many of these areas, such as this one here, and just on the side, are hazel areas of hazel coppice, which then we can remove and recycle and put into our hedge lane in different areas on the site. Point 2 on the geological trail. As you can see on the left-hand side picture here, 1990, how everything is grown in. You can't see the nodular beds. You can't see these long, amazing linear features of the mines. On the right, in 2015, we've obviously done a fair bit of work clearing this back. And by opening these long linear features up, it helps us link meadows from one end of the site to the other site, creating woodland rides, thus helping us improve the geological visits for people to see all the nodular beds and all the different layers, but also a massive improvement for wildlife as well. I think the next one we've got is a slightly bigger view after we'd completed all the work. Opens it right up, completely see all the nodular beds on the left-hand side. Gives an idea of the vast amount of limestone that people on the site would have had to dig and remove by hand. And no wonder some of them only used to live to a young age, really. Moving on. The woodlands, the green stuff around the sides, as some of the geologists call it. On the left, this is in Bluebell Wood, about a month ago, and you can see three young ash trees. This is going to be a huge problem for us in the future, and it's a fungus that's affecting ash trees, and it starts at the outside of the tree on the tip of the leaves and works its way back into the stem. And basically what it does, it stops all the capillary function of any fluids moving up and down the tree with nutrients. You can see the number 1, there's a sort of a pom-pom ring about quarter way up the tree. Number 3 has got some bits of leaves at the top, but not a lot below. And number 2 has lost all its use of pushing any nutrients up the tree, and it's trying to regenerate from the bottom. These are all classic symptoms of leaf growth on trees with ash dieback. To the right is a larger full-size tree, which you can see this leaf growth of pom-poms all over the place. Now, ash diebacks come in from abroad and came in from at the east of the country and worked its way through. It's pretty much everywhere. And for the council, or for the, for woodlands, it's looking for England, woodlands in England, probably about £15 billion over the next 10 years to deal with this disease. Unfortunately, well, depends how you look at it. Fortunately for geology, with these trees going missing, it's going to open up some more outcrops and views on site. Unfortunately for wildlife, we're going to have a bit of a hard few years over the next few years dealing with a lot of these diseased trees. Wren's Nest, probably about 75–80% ash trees. So if you put that across 100 acres, it's quite a big area of trees that are going to have to be removed or worked on. In the future, we're going to have to start looking at how we're going to replant these up, or whether we're going to let natural regeneration fill the gap. So it'll probably be a mixture of both, I would imagine, on site, and a little bit of trial and error. Okay, back onto some of these fixed point comparison photos. This is the view north to Darrell's Hollow, and wanted to really open these big long linear views as well. And you can see with a lot of scrub removal to open up these linear features, to show off the mines, some of the old pillars and some of the old mine workings through these sections. Improve for wildlife, the limestone grasslands, creating corridors. And where we are at Seven Sisters, obviously we've got a lot of old disused mines, so we've got bats to consider up here, and these will like these big long dark linear features. To the right, just to give you an idea, the picture of 2019, if I can just get my cursor up here, if you look just at the end of there is Trevor, one of our volunteers. We've also got Dave in there, and I think just somewhere hiding there is Robert. So it gives you an idea of the length of these massive big linear features that have, say, all been dug out by hand. Point 11. If anyone's not sure where this is, it's just if you've got your back to the Caves pub looking towards the quarry, that's where we're looking. Tree scrub removal to improve geology. Obviously, you can see how quickly it grows up and how you lose those long views. And then obviously the picture to the right, it's cleared out and a lot of brash is left in the base of this quarry. One, it stops public access to a certain degree because the nature of the steep slopes down there, and because it doesn't get penetrated too often down there by people or dogs or anything, it makes ideal opportunities for bird nesting. So, this geology and the biological site all works really nicely together. Okay, obviously we've talked a bit about scrub management and the tree management on site. We've also got a whole load of amazing wildflower meadows. All these are pretty much linked from geological outcrops to other geological outcrops. And we're really lucky to have this limestone, underlying limestone, which is amazing for wildflower meadows. It's really low in nutrients, free draining, and we get all sorts of different flowers on site. Autumn gentian, tuthworts, a whole host of different orchids. So we get a good variety of different flowers and flora.
Why he left home bubbled to the surface as he questions the truth of his friend's crime.
Where have I? Sorry, I just lost my concentration for a second. The meadows are cut once a year, baled and removed every year to reduce nutrients to improve floral diversity. So again, really, this geology and wildlife all just goes nicely hand in hand together. And for education purposes, it's great for us because we can cover a whole host of different topics. Okay, this is a little bit of a new addition to the NNR, and this is part of the old school fields that were part of the Dudley College, or beforehand the secondary school. As you can see, these are fixed point photographies again from 1990. School children on the fields over there, but also look how open these fields are. Cut grass, really no value for wildlife or conservation. So over the past few years, this has come into our ownership, and we've filled the middle of, in effect, what was Wren's Nest, a donut. This has massively helped with the site, adding connectivity from one side of the woodland to the other side. As you can see from the picture on the right, we've planted a whole host of hedgerows, small coppices, little woodland areas, and hopefully as this matures, it'll be a massively valuable area. Quite often get birds of prey hunting up here, and with the bats from one side of the site to the other, they really like these long linear features for hunting and browsing off insects for whatever they need. Okay. The future. So a few years ago, which seems to have come around rather quickly, we had our 60 years anniversary for the NNR. We had Richard Forty to come and best wishes and see the event through for us, which is amazing to meet him. And obviously 2021 is the 65th anniversary of the NNR. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can perhaps get some sort of celebration going for later next year. So I think this is going to be a little bit of an event to watch and see how we get on with COVID and other regulations for next year. Geoconservation. Obviously, we've got a very important site in Dudley for its fossils and for other wildlife, but mainly for the geology. The site staff and with Natural England together, we do everything we can to preserve the site, to make sure it's looked after. And we do have a number of problems on site, and pressures, visitor pressures, and all sorts of different things happening on site causes issues. So I'm just going to click on to this next slide. The old geological hammer. Okay, most geological groups I've had a quick look through, and a lot have got this as their trademark or in their logos. Beautiful Eastwig hammer, leather handle, really nice piece of kit, but cause us no end of trouble on site with people bringing tools to site, digging, knocking reef mounds about, breaking sections up for their own benefit of fossil collecting. So although obviously they're the correct tool for what you need, they're not the correct tool for NNRs really. Just moving on to this with people pressure. Obviously with lockdown this year, we've had a massive increase of people coming to use the site. Car park's been overflowed. We've had people parking all down the road. So it's always big pressures on the site that we're having to deal with now. It's lovely to have people on the site using it correctly, but again, it's just some unfortunate people that we have coming over, pulling the reef mounds about and knocking around and digging holes. This section to the left, all that rubble that's down the bank there, all that limestone, we put that back into the hole that was being dug out from 3 or 4 times at least. And people were digging it out, and we were putting it back, and they were digging it out, and it just went on, and there was literally hardly any fossilific value of the stone that they were moving. But we endeavoured to play the game and keep putting it back in the hole, and it's sort of eased off a little bit now, but we're still having a massive amount of pressure on site. Progress. Okay, so where are we? 65 years NNR next year, and never had a proper Wardens facility or field centre. The old base, as you may remember, was plagued with vandalism and eventually was burnt down. And we missed an opportunity with the development at Mons Hill because of change in the planning agreements. Recently, you may have seen in the paper that we've had from the leader of the council, Patrick Harley, has secured funding for a new Wardens base stroke field centre. This would be amazing, really, and with for the future. And fingers crossed, you know, the Friends group and everybody else are working hard trying to sort of get this sorted out. So we have got a space for education for the future for schools, colleges, and the universities on site. The geoparks gives the site protection to geological diversity and creates a visitor experience which tells a story of geological heritage and culture, putting the West Midlands on the map as a destination point, increasing geo awareness, tourism, funding, and jobs in this magnificent area we're proud of, the Black Country. Okay, just got a couple more to go through now, and the next one, I'll just go through these quick as we can because I know I'm running over a little. Can't go on without having a little chat about Alan Cutler. Alan Cutler, obviously lost him earlier this year, a co-author of the Wrens Nest Field Guide, which is used by so many people, the chair of the BCGS since 75 to 2000, yes. Above all, a lovely bloke. And our thoughts were, if possible, it would be fitting as a tribute to Alan and his commitment to geology if we could possibly call and have a new building named after him, perhaps the Cutler building or something suitable of the sort. So yeah, we'll see how we go with that one, and hopefully we can get something sorted. Okay, just this last little bit, I've just got a little 30-second video of you of the site which I'd like to show you. Enjoy.
Still can't hear it. Oh, got it now. Well, at least it was Ian Beech's.
Okay, just to finish off, thank you for listening. Questions I think will be invited for after the presentation. I'd like to welcome my colleague Alan Preece. Sorry, Alan, I've just missed a bit off your name. So apologies.
Thank you very much, Ian. That's if you haven't been to Wrens Nest, please do. It is a fantastic site, and the photos and videos, although they're spectacular, they really don't give it justice. It's an absolutely phenomenal place to go, and the staff and the volunteers do it very proud. I'll just try and share my presentation now with you about Saltwells. Let's see if technology is my friend. Can you see that?
Looking good.
Looking good, that's what we like.
Looking good, yeah.
Let's make it a slideshow. All right. So I've got a fairly lengthy presentation here, but I'll rattle through it. I will rattle through it. You might recognise some of these good people here. Some of them are lurking in the background. So if they are, and if they want to correct any of my ignorance, please do jump in. But we'll just rattle through it now. So that's a picture of Dalton's clay pit, which is one of the SSSIs on Saltwells for its geology. We've got Graham, obviously, there he is, smiling fella. Then we've got two UNESCO inspectors who eventually gave us the Geopark designation, so God bless them. And there's Colin, of course, as well, who's been, along with Jonathan's, a fantastic supporter of Saltwells. So let's get a crack on. So where is Saltwells? For those of you who have never been to Saltwells, what have you been doing? First of all, go to Wrens Nest, because obviously if you're into your fossils, you cannot beat Wrens Nest. Then if you've got time left over, please come to Saltwells. It's a beautiful place with an awful lot to offer. Most people know us as the bit that's behind everything. It's next to the Maryhill Centre, but most people don't believe us, but we are just sort of south east of Russell's Hall Hospital as well, and south of Dudley Town Centre. But back in the past, 420 million years ago, back in the Silurian, we were around here, which is same sort of equator as Buenos Aires, and we were in some warm, lovely tropical seas, which today, I was working from home, but if I was out on site, it wouldn't have felt very warm or tropical, or but it was a little bit wet, so it might have had a little bit of the sea. But that's what it was like back then. And some of the species that would have been around at the time. The first fish with jaws, first plants slightly moving onto land, and first primitive animals like centipedes and arachnids. We haven't got any fossils of those on site, unfortunately. And so, yeah, it was like a really muddy, warm sea. With possible, Graham's been doing some research with some students at some of the fossil records, and we think we might have had critters like this, the bobbit worm, and there was certainly a lot of others like these that would have been around at the time. This is what it looks like now. Not quite the same. We've been doing a huge project along here. This is part of the Bruins Canal SSSI, although this isn't actually the canal itself, obviously. We've got 3 of our volunteers there and Tom, who've just been doing a load of clearing out of this tram exposure, which had been starting to be silted up. Let me just get the cursor. So around here, this had all been dug out. This area here had been cleared to make a path. We've now got a lovely ramp that goes around, so you can get up close to the rocks and really start to investigate them firsthand. Cutting on a bit more, so just 100 million years later, so now 310 million years ago, more or less. This is, you can see here in the red, if I can't, my cursor's just there, pushing up towards the equator a little bit more, about where Rio de Janeiro is now. So what's Brazil very famous for at the moment is its Amazon tropical swamps. And so we were effectively part of the tropical swamps of its time. So it was still fairly near the shores, very warm, very humid, fantastic place to have lush vegetation. Also, the carbon dioxide level was higher. Was it higher? Yes, it was. Of course it was. So very, very good growing conditions for plants. So this is what it could have looked like back then. This was Dudley. So a little bit's changed since this was there. Giant horsetails, club mosses and tree ferns, which would have been 30 to 40 meters tall, absolutely massive things. They were the trees of their time, creating these huge, big tropical swamps. The oxygen was 35%, so it's much higher than it is today. Very, very long centipedes, so 2 meters long, meter-long scorpions running about. Cockroaches, again, about 1 meter long, so you could have ridden them like what Darwin did with the giant tortoises. We could have gone round on cockroaches and then taken to the wing. Anyway, we won't go there. But also dragonflies with wingspans of about 75 centimeters. So the huge, big invertebrates. The start of certainly had amphibians, which were the size of about crocodiles back then, and start moving towards reptiles. So you didn't have the huge dinosaurs. It wasn't sort of T-Rexes stomping around the place, but we were very much moving towards from amphibians because the area was so wet. But as the earth evolved, then we started to push more to the reptiles taking charge. But all of these huge, big, whacking great big trees would collapse into the swamps. From what I understand, the fungi wasn't around to break down the lignin, I think. The geologists are going to start throwing things at me, and I apologise. Basically, what it meant was all the organic matter built up, as it does today in peat bogs, and eventually it formed coal, and that's what we later became very famous for. So this is Dalton's clay pit, and you can see, if you look very carefully, the coal seams that are around. This area up to about here was the 10-foot thick coal. It was not 10 foot, what am I talking about? Much bigger than that. Up to about there was the original Black Country thick coal layer. So huge amounts of coal were lifted off the surface of Saltwells. And then it was eventually dug out for clay, as you can see here now. What you'll see as you go around Saltwells is lots of sculptures. There's one there, and there's one there, and they're a nod to the Carboniferous insects that were around. They're representations of Meganura, which were the massive, great big dragonflies. And Dalton's clay pit, which is here now, is also very good for dragonflies now. But moving on a lot quicker, we're now about 307 million years ago, towards the end of the Carboniferous. So after those swamps were starting to dry out, we then had earth movements happen, and we had some igneous intrusions coming up through the ground, and this area here called the dike. That's pretty much what happened at Saltwells. It didn't break the surface as it did elsewhere, like Barrow Hill, so we didn't end up with the great big volcanoes. But nevertheless, we have got some igneous there to complement the different sedimentary rocks that we have. And here it is. This is a group, basically Saltwells, 3 members of staff. As with Ian, the staff work incredibly hard, and I'm obviously biased in saying that, but we do work very hard. But we just could not manage the site without volunteers. It would just not happen. It really wouldn't. So this year has been a huge challenge, and trying to mothball a lot of our plans. However, this is a group which came to us via TCV, who are from NatWest Bank. Seems to be people who sell mortgages for a living. It seem to like to come to Saltwells and dig rocks out. So God bless them. And also your good selves who come a couple of times a year to Saltwells as well to help out. This area here, around there, is an area on the canal towpath at Bruins Canal Cutting again, and this is the Micro Gabbro, which we've been unearthing and also putting in a ramp so people can get up to it as well. Wrong way. So, back into sort of medieval Britain, this area was still wooded and chase type habitat. So this is Pensnet Chase, where Saltwells was part of. Saltwells is here, around there. So Britain would have all been completely forested in the Neolithic, and then started to be opened up by the Neolithic, ending up with Pensnet Chase through to the medieval period. But as you can see down here with this, I'll keep losing my cursor, this symbol here, coal mining had started already. Although wood was obviously the fuel of choice back then, coal mining had started. So we have a scheduled ancient monument at Saltwells for coal workings. So everything around Saltwells revolves around the geology and the use of geology, and how the natural world has reclaimed the geology and the scars that we've made of the industry. So this is an image from the wolf hunting, which may well have happened across Pensnet Chase back in the day. But then later on, as you can see, bell pits took over. Coal working happened in small areas on the site, and then into massive open cast areas later on. Industrial Revolution, can't talk about Dudley or the Black Country without images like this. Obviously, black by day, red by night, and it really, really was. The whole area was seemingly dug up at times, although we've got ancient woodland. The ancient woodland is still pockmarked with coal mines and coal mining all the way through it. So it really was used very heavily and exploited because of its very important and very useful geology. But as the Industrial Revolution happened, and because of the geology of the Black Country, which is why we've got the UNESCO Global Geopark, it also increased the population massively because people came here to work. There was money here to be made, not very much, and the work was very hard, but they could try and feed their families, and they came to the Black Country. Mining the thick, this is an image of what it would have looked like. Coal pillars still left, brought out with tracks on tracks and tubs, and must have been very hot, very uncomfortable, and also very, very dangerous work. The Velpets especially, they dig out as much as they could. You usually send the youngest ones of the family because they're the smallest. So unfortunately, probably more than a fair share of poor children who never made it back home after the shift, working for their family for literally bread and water. Very dangerous, horrible work. As Ian said, very short lifespan, very short working lifespan. By 1883, you can see that Pensnet Chase had started to become lost as the Black Country Industrial Revolution took over. All this grey areas with sort of cross areas there, that's mostly coal workings and mining activities. So you can see that there was a massive loss of woodland during that time and a large increase in industrial use. 50 years later, woodland's gone, most of the countryside is gone. This was absolutely full-on industrial revolution, canals, railways, coal mines. It was the industry heart of the British Empire. So, with population going up like crazy in the area, and also as we're seeing at the moment with human pandemic crises and public health, it is a real concern. Back then, their huge concern at the time was cholera. Huge, big mortality rates of people working in the urban areas. Thousands and thousands of people all cramming together from across the country with zero sanitation. So although we haven't got Dalton's clay pit is there. It's not the pretty figurines that you'd have on your mantelpiece, which you could sell for a fortune. We made sewage pipes, which isn't as pretty, but it did save your children. So if I had to choose between a pretty vase or my child surviving, I would go to Saltwells every time and make sure that this was quarried and was installed around Birmingham and the Black Country. And this graph here just shows that as the Dalton's clay pit was opening up around here, around 1870s, then all of a sudden life expectancy started to increase around the larger. This is stats from across Britain, but it's because of this huge push in urban areas for sanitation, which the Saltwells story is very much part of. And it ran until, we're not quite sure, but around the Second World War. I think the lease ran out in about 45, but it probably wound up a few years before then. It was taken out in these tubs, as you can see here, on tracks, and then taken up to the canal. And the features they cut through there created the Bruins cutting canal section in part, and then it came out the Bruins canal section and was taken off in by canal to the work in Wren. So 1985, still being open cast parts of Saltwells then. Saltwells just became a local nature reserve, protected from the people because Lady Dudley wanted one last hurrah with the coal mining and wanted to fell the ancient woodland and turn it into coal mining. But the people of Dudley said, no, don't want that to happen. We want our ancient woodland, we want our bluebells, and we want an end to this, and we want nature to be celebrated in our community. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing that it was protected, and what we have it still left today. But what you can see during that time, the mining might have gone down, but all the brown areas that are set out there is housing. So we've still got the people. We've still got the people, and what Saltwells can now offer is a recreational and scientific role for the community that it's in. This is Saltwells now. As you can see, there's major paths. It's 2.5 miles long, 100 hectares, which is about 240 acres. It's one of the biggest local nature reserves in Britain. The National Nature Reserve, let me just see if I can find the cursor, which isn't showing up very well. The National Nature Reserve is only the central section here. So this area here has the prime geological importance. This down here is Mushroom Green, which again has got very, very, very beautiful area, lots of character, wet woodland running through a valley. the top here, you've got Netherton Hill, which is open cast mined, fantastic views, and managed mostly by Exmoor ponies. And then again, further north up to Cinderbank roundabout here. Again, this area is known as Cinderbank, and you can tell by cinder, it's part of the Industrial Revolution there, but also hugely impacted by coal workings, and still the odd shaft and a bit of mining. It's still noticeable. Scars are still there now. So we also won the first UNESCO Man in the Biosphere Award and remains one of only 15 sites in the country to get it, which we're very proud of. We've got 2 geological sites of special scientific interest, as I mentioned, and a scheduled ancient monument related to mineral extraction. So we deal with a lot of external agencies, and the 2 fine gentlemen here tonight from Natural England have been absolute stalwarts of the geological cause in helping us, empowering us to make this happen. And obviously Graham Wharton, what can be said, really? He has been a relentless champion for geology within Dudley, and we are only where we are today from him constantly championing our cause and opening the door for Natural England to come in and help us. So we've also, as well as geology, it's also the borough's largest woodlands. If you only come once a year, try and come end of April, beginning of May. It's absolutely stunning. The scent of the bluebells is phenomenal. And we've also got massive areas covered in species-rich grassland, 6 species of orchids seen in recent years, huge amounts of plants and animals. So over 1,500 species, and that number's still going up because we're still finding things that we thought we'd recorded, but we haven't. It's locally imported, or originally imported for dragonflies and butterflies. Again, because we've dug up the landscape so much, we've got lots of nutrient poor soil, which the grasslands love, but also lots of damp holes and springs, which the dragonflies love. So species records, there we go. There's good old Saltwells here. We're very fortunate in that we have had a lot of biological recording going on through the years, which is probably why it looks like we've got so many records, because people have recorded them. But it is a very valuable site for biodiversity as well as its geology, although it's obviously the Geological National Nature Reserve, and that's what we're nationally important for. So this is some of what it looks like. Netherton Hill, Exmoor ponies grazing, and that view, if you turned around at night, gives you this view underneath where you see the Merry Hill Centre and the waterfront and just the black country coming to life at night. So it's still, as we can see, red by night, although it's a bit more orangey perhaps now with the sodium lamps rather than the fires. This is Dalton's Clay Pit, Leslie's Lookout, as we affectionately call it, after one of your members who's become a very, very stalwart volunteer with us, Les Drinkwater, and his wife Marion Drinkwater. But bluebells, people, I get a phone call every year from a lady in Wales saying, are they at their peak yet? So we get people coming from Wales to come to Saltwells to look at the bluebells. So it's an impressive area. Lots of pretty things as well. Green hair streak butterfly. We don't get many bee orchids, but when we do, it makes us very excited. The Exmoor ponies do a great job in helping us with our meadow cutting and grassland management. And we still have a very, very small population of common lizard. We might have 2 populations now, but we hope they're growing because of the work we're doing to protect the geology and to help the geology be interpreted. It's opening up habitats for these creatures now. We also have a lot of sculptures which encourage people to drag their grandkids and kids around. We often see people hauling themselves down into clay pits to come and see these life-size Meganeura dragonflies which are in the pool. We have some fantastical ones as well. We've got the dragon here as well, which is wonderful, and an absolute favourite by the kids on our treasure hunts that we run. Toads, and also we started to go down the line of our environmental interpretation much more in a sculptural and basic fashion, taking a lot of the expertise and experience that's happened at Wrens Nest, and trying to make our interpretation very concise and very open to all, to encourage people to take that next step and learn that little bit more. In the good old days, we would have things like a health walk every Friday. We'd have conservation action days once a month, volunteering during the week as well. Carers walk. Times when we had money, we were running things like dementia walks as well, and also kids groups monthly as well. Saltwells Explorers. We very, very, very much see this as a public site that we are literally looking after, helping people to engage with, but also protecting the natural history, and the geology is at the core of that. So what do people say about Saltwells? If you haven't been, what do people say? So I've picked some quotes. Saltwells Nature Reserve was outstanding. It has a rich heritage and is well managed by Dudley NBC, which is us, thank you. Using in-house staff and volunteers. That's from the Quarry Bank in Bloom judges. So these are people who come around and judge the area for our Bloom. So we're also seen as part of this, not just bedding plants in High Street. We're very much part of the Quarry Banks community in terms of how they see their open space, how they want their area represented. Natural England, got Katie Lloyd, who's our local advisor. In the years that I've been involved with the site, I have seen it become a special place for rare wildlife, for educating people, and for enriching the lives of disadvantaged communities. And that's, I'm very, very proud of that quote from Katie, because it's absolutely what we strive to do. Carol and Dennis Rides, who are our health walk leaders, who've been around the site for many, many years, and also local historian is Dennis. We are a walking group entering our 11th year at Saltwells Nature Reserve. It still amazes us, especially Dalton's Clay Pit. History is very special too. We are so lucky to have it on our doorstep. It's very much what we're trying to do now, is to link geology and heritage. That's very much where we want to move our future direction, is to keep the geology at the core, but bring it into the historical narrative as well. TripAdvisor views, the internet can be savage, the internet can be very kind. Fortunately, our TripAdvisor reviews are very kind. What a hidden gem right in the middle of the Black Country. We visited especially to see the wonderful display of bluebells. There are several trails to follow, and it is worth visiting at any time of year to listen to the birds singing. A great place for a walk, a variety of nice trails, some quite steep and challenging, with Saltwells pub nearby for a refreshment. It's a winner. I must say, Saltwells pub is often mentioned in the reviews, and we are not on commission, which is a real shame for us. An absolutely amazing place to visit if you have a couple of hours or more to lose yourself in a beautiful nature reserve with many unusual sights and plenty of well signposted trails to follow. As Ian mentioned, through the coronavirus, the early lockdowns, our site became incredibly well used, and it was very, very challenging, but it was also very touching that the place meant so much to so many people and helped them get through what we still go through a very difficult time. Some of you might recognise two of these people at least, who are members of yourself. We won in 2017 the Countryside Management Association's National Award for Best Practice for the restoration of Dalton's Clay Pit for the geology, using local community. We had special needs schools, we had drug and alcohol rehab groups, and we had our Sunday, these aren't drug and alcohol rehab group, this is our Sunday volunteers who are holding the award there from the Gordon Miller Award from the Countryside Management Association. But they saw back then exactly what the Geopark inspectors saw, and also naturally, is that this is a community place, and it is very much invested in by the community. So where are we at now? Black Country, UNESCO Global Geopark is just an amazing achievement, and Graham, God bless you, friend. God bless you. That is an amazing achievement that you've been able to make a reality after an awful long battle making it happen. So well done. And also this year, Saltwells has been designated, has been awarded Green Flag Award, which is an award given to parks and open spaces like Wrens Nest that are seen to be well maintained and judged by our peers. So a bit like the blue flag is for beaches. So not only are we a pleasant open space to come and visit that's well managed, we're also globally important for its geology. and become a national nature reserve. Now, Jonathan Larwood, who I saw looking around at the back in some of the names earlier, said this: continuously improving access to geological exposures in disused quarry faces and canal side cuttings along looking after the reserve's wildlife has made this place valued by everyone and is now celebrated as it joins the best geological places in England as a national nature reserve. Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you for making that happen. It really was a very, very great effort from yourself, and we are really proud to have played a part in that, so thank you. So the future. I don't gamble, and I don't gamble for a very good reason, or two very good reasons. One, I haven't got the money, and two, I would lose whatever money I had. So this is going to be very brief, and but here we go. We don't really know what's going to happen in the future, do we? We don't know whether we're going to end up in a paradise or climate change or new pandemics or whatever. But from what we can see in the immediate future, we're getting a new Wardens base. We had one 10 years ago, which was knocked down 10 years ago. We are at the moment expecting this to be delivered to site, pre-built, next week. So we will be getting a new classroom facility for the schools to come and enjoy, to increase our education offer to people and to improve community use on the site. It will be an amazing benefit to what we do. Our base is currently 2.5 miles from the centre of our site, and we waste a significant amount of time just moving materials, equipment and people about. So this would be a fantastic benefit for our site. Saltwells house site. Some of you may have seen in on the telly and in the news how house development was thwarted right in the middle of Saltwells Wood, which was the area of Saltwells House. That area is being bought back by the council, so that will be included formally in the nature reserve, and it won't be put out to for development again. It will be brought back and preserved, and we will manage it as part of the reserve, which is a wonderful achievement by the community. 10,000 people stood up and said, no, we don't want houses there, we want nature reserve there. So a huge thank you to, 10,000 people is just a phenomenal amount. As I mentioned earlier, we're very much seeing heritage and linking the geology importance to the heritage importance. We're a scheduled ancient monument, so we're nationally protected for our heritage, and we're a national nature reserve for our geology. These stories are one and the same, whether it's Saltwells Spa down here at the bottom, which is demolished, which is where we got our name from, or the coal workings or Dalton's clay pit. We have an amazing heritage story to tell based on the rocks underneath us. But also our kids are very important, and we're seeing them as a vital way forward. We're very much looking at new ways of environmental education. We've trialled the John Muir Award this year. We still get families come on their own to come and to pond dip or whatever else, which is brilliant. And we're also, as a service, looking into apprenticeships as well. We're very proud that one of our volunteers has just started, ex-volunteers, she went and worked somewhere else first, got into conservation through volunteering with us, and now has got the great position of working for Ian at Wrens Nest. So it's wonderful that we're seeing the next generation of nature conservationists come through our ranks. And as we all know with COVID and the lockdown, we are nothing at the moment without our health, whether that be physical or mental. And these are some of our COVID era reviews. COVID era, it'd be nice to know it is a past era. On Google, an absolutely beautiful place, peaceful, quiet, wonderful scenery. This is one of my favourite nature reserves. It's massive, but you can never get lost in there. The trail routes are also good, great parking, and great for an evening run. Beautiful place, no words to describe this place. It's so big. I use it as my getaway when I'm stuck in too much work or assignments and exams, and I need to feel grounded again. I go here. Great for walks, runs, and trips out as a family. Kids love it here. I love it here. Lovely place for a walk in these troubled times. Lots of different paths to take. Information tells of history with sculptures and totems to keep the children interested. One of the projects I was supposed to be working on Thursday, but it's been slightly postponed is a health and wellbeing trail, which we're hoping to put around Saltwells using forest bathing, so mindfulness activities, but also physical health as well in terms of a trim trail kind of idea. Very low key and very much in keeping with what we've got, but helping the society around us through education and through health, and bringing the geology very much as part of that whole. So there we go. One of the final slides, one of the best areas around for bluebells, just a sea of them that smell wonderful and does your soul good. If ever a senior warden could hear something that makes me smile, it's that. Does your soul good. We try to go to see them every year and feel better from this experience. So come along. If you haven't already, go to Wrens Nest, come to Saltwells and enjoy what we've got in our doorstep. This is just a bunch of the images which aren't from, that I haven't taken, are just referenced there. And then over to questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you very much, Ian. I wonder, as we've got Graham with us tonight, I wonder whether, could you say just a couple of words about the importance of Saltwells and Wrens Nest in terms of the geopark? Graham, are you there somewhere?
Yes, I'm here. Keith, can you hear me?
Lovely.
Great. Well, firstly, these are spectacularly important geological sites because of the windows that they are on the ancient conditions of the planet. But that's all well and good. They are the really, really key bits of the story of the geopark. But that's not really what I want to say tonight, Keith. What I really want to say tonight is that they are only of this quality because of people like Ian and Alan and their teams and their volunteers, and the way they connect the community and give this as an asset to everyone to enjoy for the future. So yes, they're important sites, but the really, really important thing is people like these that we've got working there, who have got courage to do this difficult work and the grace and passion to see it through to become the wonderful assets that they are. And if we take nothing else away from tonight's meeting, you should take away how grateful we should be to these teams and these people. They are fantastic. That's all I want to say, Keith. These people are superb individuals, full of passion for what they do. This isn't a job, this is an absolute vocation. And I am really blessed to work with these individuals. That's enough from me.